Hello, I'm John Adams, editor of Digital Photo. Photographer and DP reader Glenn Balsam got in touch with us with the problem he was having. Now Glenn's using his lounge, his front room, as a studio, and he's using a white cloth backdrop. But the problem is he can't quite get even lighting, so he's got these hot spots on the background and this sort of nasty, sort of dirty streak coming down where there's some shadow cast on the folds of the cloth. Now this is a shame because it's spoiling this great shot, this one in particular of model Merrill. Really nice dynamic composition, great expression, it's looking really good apart from this ugly streak running through the picture. Now Glenn's kindly allowed us to use this image to demonstrate how this kind of problem can be fixed. But please bear in mind that though the image is on the CD, it is copyright Glenn Balsam, so please don't use it for any of your own compositions. It's just for a bit of practice so you can see how this technique works. Now what Glenn's been doing so far, when he's got this kind of problem on his background, he's just gone into levels, which is Control and L, and then he's used the white eyedropper tool, this one here, to actually sample the dirty sort of area in the image, and that way you turn the background pure white. But I don't know if you saw that, but it also affected the contrast within the image, and particularly on Merrill's face. This hotspot sort of glares up, so we don't really want to do that because it affects the contrast. By making that global change across the entire image, yes, we clean up the background, but we also affect the model's expression and lighting. And we don't really want to do that too much. So it's not necessarily the best way to solve this particular problem. So let's just come out of levels and not apply that change. Now one way that can work quite successfully is to use the dodge tool. If you simply select the dodge tool, set range to highlights and exposure to 4 or 5%, something like that, you can then use a small brush and that will actually turn it pure white. But one of the problems is if the dark streak lies perhaps behind the model's face, or in this example down by her leg, you're going to start burning the model's edge and outline as well. So though that works fairly successfully, if the streak was anywhere else, you could get problems because you'd start going into the model herself and burning hair and all sorts of things. So again, it may work, but it's not necessarily the best option to take with this kind of problem. So let's just undo that technique as well. We'll just bring up our history palette, just go to Window and select History, and in the history we can go back to the original image before we started that dodging work. There we go. So assuming you're not going to use more lights on the background and diffuse them all to get a perfect even lighting, assuming you want to save some money and do it in Photoshop instead, what's a good way of doing it? Well, using the Replace Color command is a really good way of working, and that will just affect the background areas and won't affect the model in the image. So what we're going to do is go to Image, Adjustments, and choose Replace Color, about halfway down the list. Click on that, and our Replace Color dialog box comes up on screen. Now with this dialog box, all we have to use is the normal eyedropper, the one on the left here. Make sure that's selected, and then hold down the Shift key and start clicking on these areas, on the sort of the pink streak running through the picture. Make sure you get them all, and also still holding Shift, click on the white as well. And before long you should find that you've actually got all of the background and haven't touched the model. This will be revealed in this particular preview image. Fuzziness, this is a slider that actually affects how it works. This needs to be set to, it depends on the image of course, but somewhere in the 40s should be fine. We'll go for about 43 on fuzziness, and that seems to have worked quite well. You can see there's our image with the streak running through it, and our selection has taken in all of the background and none of the model. Once you've done that, what you've effectively done is made a selection of the entire background area. We've clicked on the white, we've sampled that, and we've clicked on all of these sort of grubby pink colors to actually get all of that bit selected. And all we need to do now is use these sliders at the bottom to actually boost the white color in the background. And this of course is in lightness. If we move lightness all the way to the right, we get rid of all of those sort of dirty pink streaks in the background, and we leave the model looking good exactly as she should be. So that's a really nice, easy way. I'll just run through it once more. Let's cancel that out. You go to Image, Adjustments, choose Replace Color. With the eyedropper selected, just hold down the Shift key, click on the white, click on the pink, and watching this preview image all the time, you just run through until you have all of those darker colors selected. And once you've got a nice clean result, just move the lightness slider over to the right, and hey presto, the problem is solved. Once you've done that, click OK, and everything's looking good. Now I think there's a slight bit of underexposure on the model herself, so all we do is make a slight curves adjustment layer just to finish off the image. Control and M brings up our curves dialog box. All we're going to do is boost it just a touch. That's the kind of thing, maybe pull in that black point just a little bit. And once you're happy with the contrast adjustment, just click OK, and the job is done. So though there are at least 3 ways of making that same change to the image, I think that's probably the quickest way. And of course, the quickest way that works well is always the best way when you're using Photoshop. So there we go. We now have a fabulous shot that could easily have been taken in a very high-end studio rather than a front room. So thanks to Glenn for that query, and of course to Meryl too. Give that a try with your images if you're looking for a really clean background, and it's really, really easy to do. Thanks for listening. See you next time.